He's braking later into turn 1, not recklessly, not desperately, just later. The rear moves a fraction, the steering corrects mid-corner, and instead of fighting the snap, he holds it. That wasn't possible last year, not in that car, because in 2025, every correction punished him, every adjustment cost time, and every Saturday felt heavier than the last. Now the inputs look different, the balance looks different. And according to Martin Brundle, the outcome might be different too. After the worst season of his 19-year career, 0 Grand Prix podiums, 86 points adrift, outqualified 19-5, why is Brundle suddenly backing Lewis Hamilton to produce the biggest comeback of his life in 2026? Before we break this down, hit subscribe, because this season might redefine a legacy. And the real story isn't what you think. Martin Brundle doesn't do empty optimism. He called Hamilton's 2025 season a disaster before it unfolded. He warned the signs were there, and he was right. So when he says he's confident about 2026, the paddock listens. After a debut Ferrari season that delivered 0 Grand Prix podiums, the first time in Hamilton's career, and a 6th-place championship finish 86 points behind, expectations collapsed. The numbers were brutal. Outqualified 19-5 by Charles Leclerc. Outraced 18-3 in head-to-head finishes. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, after qualifying 12th while his teammate took pole, Hamilton called himself absolutely useless. That wasn't just frustration, that was fracture. But Brundle now sees something different. Not sentiment, not nostalgia. He sees innovation from Ferrari. He sees regulatory reset. And most importantly, he sees a driver who looks happier. A happy Lewis has always been a fast Lewis. That statement matters more than it sounds, because 2025 wasn't simply poor results. It was technical incompatibility. The ground effect era demanded precise, stable inputs. The cars punished correction. They rewarded robotic consistency over adaptive instinct. And that was never Hamilton's strength. Now the regulations shift. The cars are lighter, 30 kilograms lighter. Downforce is reduced. Mid-corner corrections are possible again. Hamilton himself said it. The cars are more fun to drive. They're easier to correct. That's not nostalgia talking, that's technical relief. But relief doesn't guarantee redemption, because the real shift isn't just the car, it's what that shift exposes. And that's where this gets complicated. Let's strip this down to evidence. During Bahrain testing, Ferrari were the only team to break into the 1-minute 31-second bracket. Charles Leclerc set the fastest lap of the entire preseason. At the Barcelona shakedown alone, Ferrari completed 440 laps. Reliability, efficiency, track time. That's not noise, it's structural progress. Compare that to 2025. Ferrari discovered fundamental design flaws only after the Chinese Grand Prix. By April, they pulled development entirely. Hamilton drove a compromised car for 8 months while rivals improved. 8 months of stagnation in Formula 1 is an eternity. Now look at the innovation layer. A new exhaust winglet designed to enhance rear diffuser efficiency and improve tire wear. A radical rear wing rotating 180 degrees, tested for 5 laps. These are not desperate patches. These are exploratory concepts under new regulations. Ferrari didn't chase marginal gains in 2025. They sacrificed it. A full year redirected toward 2026. That head start shows. But numbers cut both ways. The bookmakers give Hamilton just a 2.9% implied probability of winning the championship. George Russell sits at 11-4 odds, level with Max Verstappen. Hamilton trails Russell, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, and Leclerc in championship betting, 6th in the market, after finishing 6th in reality. Statistics don't care about sentiment, but statistics also don't capture regulatory shifts. And the numbers that matter most may not be from 2025 at all. They may be the 30 kilograms removed. Because weight changes behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. But even that isn't the full story. The ground effect generation required precision. You placed the car exactly. You avoided snaps. You minimized corrections. Hamilton's style has always been different. He thrives on rotation, on feeling the rear move, on balancing throttle and steering mid-corner. In 2025, that instinct cost him. In 2026, it may reward him. The cars are lighter by 30 kilograms. They run less downforce. They allow recovery. Hamilton described it clearly. You can have snaps and keep it on track. That single phrase explains 2 seasons of struggle, because when a driver cannot express instinct, performance compresses. Alex Albon suggested the lighter machines could suit Hamilton more than anyone on the grid. If that's true, it reframes the narrative entirely. Was the decline age-related or regulation-specific? At 41 years old, Hamilton must answer that immediately. Brundle addressed it bluntly. To contend for a title, Hamilton must prove that 2 years of largely poor qualifying were technical, not talent erosion. Qualifying was the fracture point. Russell dominated him in their final Mercedes season. Leclerc crushed him in 2025. If Saturdays don't improve, Sundays won't matter. But if regulation unlocks instinct again, if mid-corner correction becomes weapon instead of weakness, then 2026 resets the hierarchy, not emotionally, mechanically. But there's another layer beyond engineering, and that's psychological, because the car can change, but belief must return. Hamilton didn't just reset technically over winter, he reset personally. He parted ways with longtime manager Mark Hines. He worked with a new race engineer after Riccardo Adami moved internally. He stepped away from social media in a digital detox. He reduced noise. When he arrived in Bahrain, observers noticed something simple. He was smiling, engaged, relaxed, speaking enthusiastically about the SF26. He said his DNA is in the car after 8 to 10 months developing it in the simulator. That matters. The SF25 was never his. Designed while Carlos Sainz was still in place. Hamilton officially joined January 22, 2025. Too late for meaningful input. This car is different. Psychology in Formula 1 is invisible until it isn't. A driver who feels disconnected hesitates. A driver who feels ownership commits. Hamilton's lowest moment came at Hungary, 12th in qualifying, calling himself absolutely useless. That was public vulnerability from a 7-time champion. Now he speaks about connection. That contrast is measurable, but belief alone doesn't win titles, because inside Ferrari another problem remains, and his name is Charles Leclerc. Leclerc outqualified Hamilton 19-5, outraced him 18-3. Raw speed was never Leclerc's issue, but championship conversion has been. 5 wins from 27 pole positions. That's a statistic that lingers. Leclerc is comfortable inside Ferrari. 7 years embedded in its culture. Hamilton is still integrating. Brundle was clear. Hamilton must beat Leclerc. Not occasionally, consistently. Because if Ferrari is second best behind Mercedes and Leclerc leads internally, Hamilton's comeback narrative collapses instantly. The irony is sharp. Hamilton left Mercedes partly due to car philosophy frustration. George Russell stayed, adapted, and now leads a Mercedes operation that appears strongest in testing. If Mercedes dominate and Ferrari trail, Hamilton could watch his former team win races in a car he once shaped. That psychological layer cannot be ignored. Russell sits at 11-4 odds. Hamilton at 2.9% implied probability. That gap isn't just mathematical, it's reputational, and reputation is rebuilt one weekend at a time. But before rivalries define the season, strategy will. And Ferrari's gamble is already visible. Ferrari stopped developing the 2025 car in April. While others chased marginal tenths on machinery soon obsolete, Ferrari redirected entirely toward 2026, a full-year development head start under new regulations. That's not conservative thinking, that's calculated sacrifice. Fred Vasseur bet everything on this reset. Hamilton bought in, knowing he would endure 8 months in a broken car. That partnership now reaches its moment of truth. Testing suggests Ferrari sit between 2nd and 4th best. Mercedes looks strongest. McLaren shows strong one-lap pace. Red Bull demonstrate powerful energy deployment. 4 teams within striking distance. 7 or 8 potential title contenders. That density changes strategy. Undercut windows tighten. Delta gaps compress. Tire management becomes decisive. Ferrari's innovative exhaust winglet and diffuser focus signal emphasis on rear stability and tire wear. In a championship with marginal differences, degradation control over a 40-lap stint can define victory, but strategy only matters if execution holds, and execution begins in Melbourne, because testing pace means nothing without translation, and translation under pressure is where legacies are measured. Hamilton is 41, 7 world titles, 19 seasons. An 8th championship would redefine the record books, but time compresses opportunity. His contract runs beyond 2026, yet everyone understands that windows close quickly, especially in your 40s. Brundle sees a potential 7 or 8 driver fight, both Mercedes drivers, both McLaren drivers, both Ferrari drivers, at least one Red Bull. In that environment, margins shrink. Russell is no longer in Hamilton's shadow. He did the hard years at Williams. He arrived at Mercedes when dominance ended. He endured the rebuild. Now he leads. Antonelli grows stronger in the second car. If Mercedes possessed the fastest package, Hamilton's path narrows dramatically, because comeback narratives don't survive second-place finishes behind former teams. And yet, regulatory resets historically create chaos, and chaos favors instinct. If the 30-kilogram reduction restores Hamilton's edge, the competitive order may not hold, but that depends on one decisive factor: qualifying. And that is where this story turns. 2 years of poor qualifying, that's Brundle's caution. If those Saturdays were technical, 2026 changes everything. If they were decline, nothing changes. Hamilton must beat Leclerc over 1 lap. He must close delta gaps immediately. He must show that the 1 minute 31 second testing pace translates under pressure. Because Sunday recovery drives are harder in a field where 4 teams can win. He cannot start 12th again while teammates take pole. He cannot concede 19-5. The paddock watches Melbourne closely, because if Hamilton qualifies on the front 2 rows consistently, narrative shifts overnight. If he doesn't, the 2.9% probability will look generous. Brundle's track record lends weight. He predicted Verstappen's 2025 title. McLaren's constructors win. Identified Oliver Behrman early. He doesn't speculate loosely. When he says don't count Lewis out, it's assessment, not nostalgia. But belief must now convert to lap time, and lap time is absolute. This isn't a redemption story built on sentiment. It's a regulatory inflection point intersecting with psychological renewal. Ferrari sacrificed 2025 for 2026. Hamilton endured 8 months in a flawed car. The new generation is 30 kilograms lighter, more correctable, less punishing. He feels connected, invested, embedded in development. Testing shows innovation and reliability, 440 laps without fragility. But championships are not won in testing. They're won on Saturdays at the edge of grip. They're won by beating teammates 19 times, not 5. They're won by closing 86-point deficits. Martin Brundle's warning isn't emotional, it's conditional. If the regulations masked instinct, Hamilton returns. If they expose decline, they confirm it. The difference will emerge quickly, and when it does, it will redefine not just a season, but a legacy.